Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's live discussion on Strange New Worlds Season 1. I'm here joined by Alyssa, of course, always joining me as always. Alyssa, thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really looking forward to talking about a good season of Star Trek this time instead of our last discussion that we did on the Star Trek season.
Yeah, it's such like the polar opposite.
I know. I really needed this because I was really starting to lose faith in Star Trek after that. So I'm so glad that we got this season.
All right, cool. So, well, let's start with that. Let's start with our overall thoughts of the season. Alyssa, what did you think of the season as a whole?
Well, I think it's without question the best first season of Star Trek. I mean, most first seasons of Star Trek suck. Next Generation is awful. I guess probably the best one before this, I would have said the original series. The original series is kind of a different animal, though. I almost kind of count it separately. And the original series had a really good first season with 29 episodes, and like half of them were really good. So it still had some bad episodes in it. It just had a lot of episodes. So I almost count the original series as a separate thing. So before this, I would have said probably Lower Decks, honestly. And before that, probably Voyager, but nothing nearly as good as this. Now, of course, it wasn't perfect. I have my gripes with it. You had your gripes with it, but I was not expecting 10 perfect episodes. After the start of the season, I think I really liked the first 5. I was like, well, they can't keep this up forever. And then episode 6, I was like, yeah, okay, well, I knew they couldn't keep it up forever. So I wasn't expecting every episode to be amazing. So the fact that there's a couple of them that I like a little less, I mean, that's expected. What I did not expect was how serialized it actually would be. They proclaimed it to be this episodic show. They kept saying, oh, it's going to return to the episodic nature of Star Trek, episodic. And it was, but it had some great serialization, and we'll probably get into it. But the Captain Pike arc in particular was set up in the first episode of the season and then really wrapped up nicely in the final episode of the seasons. And it was an ongoing arc throughout. And there's other arcs. There's Spock and T'Pring. There was the Dr. M'Benga thing. So there was always these character arcs. And so it was serialized with the characters. And you know what? Now after having seen this, I kind of want Discovery to switch to this format. They probably won't. They probably are still going to have the big disaster that they have to. It's like the Umbrella Academy of Star Trek. Umbrella Academy every season they have to stop the apocalypse. That's how Star Trek Discovery is, and it's like after seeing this, I kind of want all Star Trek to be like this. If this is, I mean. Because I would argue that it's still serialized. I think it's serialized in a more episodic manner. And they did such a great job with it. And we can't overlook the characters and the actors. They found actors who have such great chemistry together and really good actors. And Anson Mount has a stage presence that is just incredible. And so he is an amazing captain of the Enterprise. He's already, I think, my second. I still will have to go with Jean-Luc Picard, but I think Captain Pike is already my second favorite captain in all of Star Trek. He's so good. This particular version of Captain Pike. And Ethan Peck as Spock, and you see him growing more into the role from where he was in Star Trek 2, or Discovery Season 2, rather. And so the acting is great. The character writing is great. That's even some tropes that I don't particularly care for, which I'm sure we'll get into. I still thought they did a really good job because they did really good writing and really good character interactions. So overall, I was very impressed with this season. It wasn't perfect, but I would have been blown away if it was perfect. No season's going to be perfect, but overall, just an incredible first season for a show. And if it gets better from this, we're going to be in for a really good show.
Yeah, I think it is. Well, first of all, I wanted to say that I heard, now this may be not true and maybe false information, but I've heard some people from the scuttlebutt from Paramount is saying that they are thinking of taking Discovery and their other shows in a more episodic direction after the success of this season. They're saying this is by far the most popular Star Trek show that they put out, and they had the most success. And I wouldn't doubt that though, because they have changed direction before with Discovery. Like I think the whole going into the 32nd century was a direct reaction to fans not liking the fact that this was constantly bumping up against canon being so close to the original series. And I think there's other things that they've taken to Discovery, like they tried to make it more hopeful and less dismal from fan reactions. So I wouldn't doubt it if they went a bit more episodic because of the popularity of the show. And I totally agree with you that it's, in fact, like one of the things that irks me is when I watch these YouTube videos and other things that praise the show, which I love the show as well, but they say, "Oh, it's so great because it's episodic. It takes Star Trek back to its episodic roots." And I'm like, but it's not episodic. it's really not. Like it focuses on a different plot each week, but a lot of serialized shows do that. A lot of serialized shows will have their plot that happens that involves that one episode, but there's through stories throughout the entire season, usually having to do with character stories. And that's exactly what this does. Like there's tons of character stories that run through, and that's why they have it previously on at the start of each episode, because the finale with the Pike was a great character story, but it doesn't really hit as hard if you haven't seen the previous episodes. And it's not like a truly episodic show, and this is why they made shows episodic back in the 80s and 90s, was so anyone can tune in at any time and not be lost and be able to follow exactly what's going on. And it wouldn't matter whatsoever what order you watch the episodes in. Where I'd argue with this show, it does matter what order you watch the episodes in. That if you watch them out of order, you're not going to get the full impact or the full experience from it.
Yeah, I was just thinking Lost is a prime example. We think of that as the first really popular serialized show, but it had a lot of single contained episodes that were just about a character. Some of those not as good, but that was their format. So you can be serialized and still have a different plot each week. And I think that's I think for Star Trek, maybe that should be the type of serialization that they use, since they haven't had a whole ton of success with the other way that they've been doing it. Well, I still think that I still liked Discovery. We talked about Discovery season 4 before. I just thought it was too long. They had too much in it. But I still liked it, and I still liked Picard season 1, even though it has some issues, and we won't even talking about. There's only been one season of Picard. There's never been a season 4. It doesn't exist. But I think that this seems to be the kind of serialization that the creators at Trek seem to be better at. So maybe they want to just use this kind of serialization. Because you could still do a Discovery season where you have a through line story with Book and Michael Burnham and with Stamets and Colburn, with whatever else. You could still have that, but to have each episode be a separate thing instead of we've got to save the universe from the apocalypse and it's some mystery. We have to figure out what it is. Maybe it's time to move away from that.
Because there's a lot of Discoveries even been episodic, because you had the episode where they went to Saru's home planet, followed by the episode where Tilly was trapped in the mushroom thing, and followed by the episode where Burnham went to rescue Spock. So they do have different focuses. But the problem. So I'm very resistant to people who say, "Oh, the problem with the modern Trek was serialization." No, the problem with modern Trek was that they didn't do serialization correctly, and now they are. Because Discovery relied too heavily on the mystery of the end. As you said, with season 4, they dragged it out for too long. They need to drop the mystery format. And Picard, its issue was not serialization. It had so many other issues, especially season 2. Its issues was its plot was a giant fucking mess. Everything about it was a mess. Oh my god! Yes, Norman in the chat says put an end to the mystery box.
Yeah, and I am not opposed to mystery box shows. I just don't think Star Trek does it very well. Like, I don't think that's their strength. I think their strength is what we just saw.
Because, and the reason why I fight against that is because I think Voyager was nowhere near as good as it could have been because they constantly strayed away from serialization, particularly with the character stories and through characters. Like, if they did what Strange New Worlds was doing, it would have been a far superior show than what it was.
Voyager of all shows should have been the most serialized of all of them, since it was actually one continuing story of a ship being lost in Delta Quadrant and trying to find its way home. That in itself is a continuing story. So to try to make that episodic and hit the reset button after every episode it's why I don't like the Voyager as much as other people do. To be
particularly the last 2 seasons.
Particularly the last 2 seasons are my 2 least favorite seasons of the show. I know you didn't like season 3, but we'll get into that. But for me personally, my bottom 2 were seasons 6 and 7, and because they really hit that reset button hard.
And it was just what's the point of watching this show if it doesn't matter from week to week? They just meet new aliens, get in a fight, and then watch and repeat and do the same thing every fucking week. Like, what's the point in that?
Well, they did have continuing stories for the Doctor in 7 and 9, but they weren't good. They weren't very good.
Yeah. But anyway, so getting off track talking about Voyager. So Brandon says, I have no hope for Picard season 3. No, me neither. What else up here? Oh yeah, if they cut Discovery down to 10 episodes, I'd be happier. Well, I've heard they're going to do just that. I heard
somebody in the chat told us that before. Wasn't that you, Norman, or is that Maddie? Somebody in one of my chats said a couple different times that they were cutting Discovery down to 10.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Norman said that next season will be 10 episodes. So hopefully, and if they follow closer to this format, it'll be better. And also, like DS9 season 6 and 7 were mostly serialized, and all the stuff that was serialized was the best. And the freaking Enterprise season 3, I don't care what anyone says, I still love that season, and it's because of their serialized. So Star Trek can do serialization, they just need to do it correctly, which Discovery for the most part hasn't been doing. But anywho, so I don't know if I'd say this was my favorite season 1 of Star Trek. I think I'm still with Voyager for that. It's kind of this one's kind of neck and neck to me. I love season 1 of Voyager. It's one of my favorite seasons. And then the original series, but I think these two are definitely better than the original series season. Although season 1 of the original series is by far the best season, but I just think I have a lesser opinion of the original series than anything that came after.
The original series it's apples and oranges because it was a different era, and they had 29 freaking episodes, which is a lot. And so like half of them are good, maybe, and like half of them aren't as good.
But I noticed I just recently did my top 30 original series episodes, and my top 3 were the only ones I gave a 10 out of 10, and they were all from the first season. Yeah. Didn't realize that. But anyway, I know you said in your video that this was your favorite show of the year so far, that beat out The Expanse season 6. You know me, I'm a huge Expanse fan.
I know, Mark. I know they beat it out for you.
They beat it out for me because it's season 6 of Expanse, probably one of my favorite seasons of all time. But it's second behind it. It beat out a lot of other stuff that landed at second place. So absolutely, I did love the season. I do think maybe I have slightly less opinion of it than you because I thought it dipped a bit in the middle. Like, I thought it had a great start and it dipped a bit in the middle, then got strong again at the end. minus that aliens episode. But anyway, so that's how we're going to format this discussion. We're going to jump into the episodes. We'll go one by each episode. So if you're ready, we can go ahead and get started on that. Yeah. So let's start with the first episode, which I'm sorry, it needs a different title.
Yeah.
Strange New Worlds. Like, that's so confusing. Like, Strange New Worlds. I actually think this might be talking about best first. I think this is the best premiere episode of all Trek. I think for me, the one before this would have been Picard, which I thought Remembrance. I thought that was an amazing premiere, even though the show kind of went downhill after it. I still think it was a great premiere, whereas I think this one beats it out.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I can't think of another one that I would say is better.
I mean, before that, like before the newer Trek, it was probably again Voyager, probably Caretaker. I know some people would go with Emissary because I did love the Cisco storyline in that, but the station storyline I thought was crap. Like,
I personally, of the 90s Trek, I would go Emissary myself.
Emissary? Okay. The whole thing with Odo just going out of nowhere. Yeah, I'm not discovered. It's like, that was such bad. Anyway. But yeah, so this one episode I love because it felt so, I'm sorry to say, but it felt so Star Trek, so true to Star Trek. And I also love how it kind of got back to like almost correcting things, because a lot of people complained about how the Prime Directive was treated in Next Generation, and particularly later season Next Generation and Voyager, where they would just let people die rather than interfere. Where here Pike was like, no, like, it's our fault. Like, we caused this to happen, so I don't give a fuck. We're gonna help them get out of it. And the way he shows up and like gives the speech and shows like modern day strife. I think they even had like images from the January 6th and
there was a lot of right wingers complaining about that.
Yeah.
That was the whole Fox News thing about how Star Trek is woke now and how it used to
was
be.
it because of this episode?
That was one of the factors. It wasn't just this episode, but that was one of the reasons why. Star Trek isn't like it used to be. It's woke now.
I loved all the memes I saw making fun of that. They're like, okay, so saying that's the exact same thing as saying, oh, Star Trek, I guess, takes place in space now. I mean, it's woke relative to the time. You gotta say, oh, well, they weren't doing this in the 60s. Yeah, but relative to the time it was airing, it was totally woke. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, I hate that word. I think that's a.
Well, yes.
I don't like using that word for but yeah.
I kind of use it with sarcasm to throw it back in your damn face. But anyway. Oh wait. So what's Brandon? Hold on. Strange New World sounds like an Enterprise episode. I'm sorry, I just saw this in the chat. No one says that Brendan stopped egging Mark onto a rant. Where was he? I must have missed that he was egging me onto a rant. But anyway.
Well, Norman mentioned that they complained about Stacey. This was in the Fox News article. They complained about Stacey Abrams being the president of the Federation, which she was not. She wasn't the Federation. She wasn't the president of the Federation. She was actually the president of Earth.
Yes, who wasn't even a member of the Federation.
Well, that's the whole point. They were joining the Federation, which just proves that whoever wrote that didn't even watch the damn episode. Like, they didn't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Oh no! I saw so many stuff making fun. It was just the dumbest shit. Anyway, so what did you think of this episode?
Yeah, I thought it was a really strong premiere, and again, it was all about the characters for me. And I actually, in retrospect, think this is even stronger after seeing how they finished the season in episode 10, because I see it as a nice little closed loop. They really set the stage in season 1 or episode 1 with Pike, growing the beard and being all depressed and not wanting to go back to Starfleet. because of this, and then because of his seeing the future, and then wrapping that up in the 10th episode. But we also got, we got little bits of it all throughout the season, so we wouldn't forget about it. So I like the first episode even more after watching the whole season, which is another case for it definitely being serialized. But without the context of the rest of the season, I still thought it was a really great introduction to the characters, really great way to set the tone. My one complaint about this episode is I didn't like the fact that Pike gave a speech, and they kind of implied, I guess they didn't say for certain, but they kind of implied that Pike gave the speech and all right, problem solved on this planet. And I would have appreciated more of a line where they say, "Thank you, Captain Pike, for starting us on this long, hard journey that we're going to have that's going to take centuries to overcome, but you got us the ball rolling." They said, I remember saying in my review that, like, imagine if an alien came down to Earth and go, "Well, on my planet, we," like, all of a sudden, all of our problems would be solved, and Republicans and Democrats would stop fighting and all that. Yeah, no, that wouldn't happen. So, and Star Trek has done similar things in the past, so it's a general Star Trek thing that I didn't like. So that was my one complaint. I think I ended up giving it an 8 out of 10 because of that. Okay. But I still felt overall probably the best first episode of any series.
So what you're saying is you wish that they ended the episode with them saying it's going to be a long road.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I would want them to. You know, it would be even better if they somehow could write a song around that.
Oh,
like if they went and wrote a song and sang it to Pike.
It's gonna be a long road. I'm sorry, I had to get that out of the way. Anyway,
Brandon, we have to do that when you're here because.
Well, even when you're not here, I just can't.
Yeah, we do it when you're here.
Yeah. But anyway, I might be gone by now, but I gotta say farewell to Norman, who had to take off, and that's all right. I mean, you can have your opinions about episode 8. That's all good. I won't be too hard on you about that.
Episode 8? What are you talking about?
So Norman says, please, because he doesn't like episode 8, and we do. And he says, please go easy on me. I'm like, we're not going to go hard on you for that.
Oh, yeah. And then he gave, and I think it was him who wrote a comment that he gave episode 9 a 9 out of 10. I was like, it didn't do it for me. So, yeah. But that's okay. We can have disagreements. You could be wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Everybody's got their own opinion, and that's what makes the world go round.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so Will Ferrell #1 says, I wish Strange New Worlds would have more than 10 episodes. I agree. I think I said that at the start, but then I kind of reasoned that it's actually when 90s shows and 80s shows had 24 episodes. That's why we get a lot of crap. That's why that would pop up. That's where you get your Prophet and Lace and your freaking Code of Honor, because there's too many episodes and you can't, it's hard to sit there, and sometimes they're just under the gun and have to write whatever shit they can, and so it's actually better, I think, so they have more time to perfect each episode, which is part of the reason why I think almost every episode was top notch this season. So as much as I would like more episodes, it does give them that time to sort of put the quality into it.
I mean, they could maybe do a couple more, 12,
13 or 15 might be pushing, but not 25.
Yeah, I think 12 to 13 they could do, but that's why it's good that most shows don't do 20 episode seasons anymore, or 25 episode seasons, because exactly what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, and I was going to mention before when you were talking about the episode, saying that I thought it was cool that Pike was grew his beard, and I was like, well, that's why the show started out amazing, because they grew the beard
in the first episode. Yep.
They weren't going to wait till season 2 to do it.
Well, that's not entirely accurate.
It's not accurate
because
he didn't actually get until season 3,
right?
In season 2, but still.
Season 2 was better. It was better than season 1, but that's not saying much.
But that's like a known trope now, just like jumping the shark.
Grow the beard.
Anyway,
he shaved it off, but it doesn't matter. It was already grown. The beard was grown.
Exactly. I would say the one quibble I had about this episode, which maybe I should talk about in the finale, because it applies there as well, is I don't really care for this fuck buddy character Pike has, whatever her name is.
Captain Patel.
Patel, yeah.
I don't have any problem. Yeah, you mentioned that in your review. I don't have a problem with her. She's fine.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, I didn't mind her that much in this episode. Her return seemed kind of like, why do I care about this character?
I thought, to me, it brought like a nice circle around. Like I like that they included her in the finale, because it kind of brought things back to the first episode and made me feel like we're getting like a nice little closure. So I liked her being brought back.
I don't know why I had an issue with her. I don't know. She just seemed like not fleshed out, like just thrown in for the hell of it.
Oh yeah, she's just thrown in.
I think unnecessary would be the word I would use.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a problem with her.
I think it's mainly there to show that Pike's a ladies' man. I don't know. Because we'll get to the finale, but I would rather they differentiate Pike from Kirk rather than making him a ladies' man.
Well, he's not a ladies' man the way that Kirk was. Like he's not having a romance of the week.
Well, when we get to episode 6.
Yeah, but it's not every week.
Yes. Sure. All right. Well, yeah, so overall I really liked this episode. I thought it was actually really good. I didn't have as big of I thought it did a great job introducing all the characters, particularly La'an. And doing their sort of undercover. That's such a Star Trek thing, disguising yourself as the other aliens. You can go undercover. Yeah. So yeah, this is actually one of my favorites of the season. I thought it was a very strong way to start the season, start the show.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's go ahead and jump into the next episode, which is Children of the Comet. I don't remember this one as well. I remember thinking it was pretty good. I remember because they had these religious people who were trying to stop them from stopping the comet from killing this planet because they worship the comet or something. Am I hitting it right? Yeah.
Yes. I actually remember that I liked this one a little bit better than the first episode. Okay. I think I gave it an 8.5 in the first one, an 8. But mostly because of the character story of Ahura, that we finally get some backstory on Ahura. We get her first name. I don't know if I think that was in canon already, but I don't think that was ever spoken. Really.
I think it was the only time it was spoken in canon, if you could consider it canon, was the J.J. Abrams movies.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. So it's never been spoken in real.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the story of her parents, I was like, oh yeah, we never heard a damn thing about her parents before, because the 60s, for as much credit as they should get for having a black woman on the bridge, which was a huge deal, in the 1960s. First, a woman and a black woman at that. I mean, that was a huge deal at the time. You look at it now, and in retrospect, they didn't really flesh her character out at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, although I was kind of resistant at first to legacy characters being brought in, I actually like that they finally get a chance to flesh out this character because she's never been fleshed out before. And we get a different version of Uhura than what we're familiar with. And we'll talk about this when we get to episode 10, but it was really cool seeing her trying to play more like the Nichelle Nichols version of Uhura in that episode. But I love this episode mostly for the Uhura story. I always feel like I'm saying a horror story, like it's a horror.
That's episode 9.
Yeah, that's where my review I kept slipping up saying, "Oh," because that was also that also had a Lieutenant or Cadet Uhura storyline in it as well. But yeah, that I thought that they did a really good job. And what's her name? I always forget her name. Cedric Rowe. She's got 3 names or something. Gooding something. What's her name? The lady who plays Uhura now.
Oh, the actress? I don't even know.
I should get that name down. She's good. And I love the story that she told where she didn't know she was auditioning for Uhura.
Oh, yeah.
They made up some other character name that she thought she was auditioning for, which means what they were going for is someone who was going to bring a different take to the character. They didn't want somebody to come and just try to do a Nichelle Nichols impersonation for this character because she is a lot younger. And she's unsure of herself, and she's not even sure if she wants to stay in Starfleet. And that is a little bit of a trope that has been done before, but I liked it. I thought that they did a really great job with it. So yes, there was a whole thing about the comet and the religious people, but when I think of this, I kind of think of it as a really strong character episode for Uhura.
That's interesting because J. Kim in the chat says the Comet worshippers really felt like real Trek. The horror stuff I didn't really care about, but the Comet people really got into it. I kind of latch more to the Comet people as well. I guess I've heard someone say like this one episode did more to flesh out Uhura's backstory than the entire 50 years previous to this.
Yeah, I probably said that in my review too. Yeah,
which is true, but I'm kind of sick of coming of age stuff in Star Trek. I mean, we had Wesley, we had Harry Kim, we had Tilly, and at this point, I'm just not as interested in it anymore. So I was more interested in the Comet stuff because it's like Jay Kimmin in the chat says that it felt like Trek, but for me, it reminded me of like other sci-fi stuff where they had like these. Like Stargate had this species called the Ori, and there's other stuff I read that had like these just aliens that were like really sort of super like ultra religious, and they became like villains because of that, because they wanted to convert everyone. Well, in this case, they didn't want like to convert everyone, but still their beliefs were sort of preventing Pike from saving all those people. And again, this is another example where Pike is like, fuck the Prime Directive, let's save all these people, which is different than what Picard would do in later seasons of TNG. But I like how Pike navigated it to respect their religion at the same time, finding a way to do both, which he was kind of trapped to because they were outgunned by these aliens. So I found that very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I did find it a little bit plot convenient that they were more powerful than the Enterprise. Like, I feel like that we would have heard of them. Like, I feel like the Federation has already been portrayed as like having some of the top technology, and the ones who are matched with them, like Klingons and Romulans, are like their enemies. So I don't know. And many Star Trek episodes have done that before, but
yes,
I'm always a little iffy about that. It feels like a little plot convenient, but no, I didn't. But I don't really actually have a problem with it. But I totally agree with that. I just don't ever remember the Comet people. I just remember those in the horror episode. And the case I'll make about being coming of age and being different from all the others is because we know the end result. We have seen, and this is a beloved character, and we've never gotten her back backstory. So I like seeing her backstory, and I think the actress does a great job.
I did really love the scene where Pike did that, like had that breakfast or brunch or whatever, and it really like showcased the kind of captain he was, more casual, very the anti-Jellicoe, which by the way, Captain Jellicoe's the worst captain in Starfleet. I don't care what anyone says, but anyway.
I just saw a YouTube video the other day, and I didn't watch the video, but I saw the caption that said Captain Pike is a much better captain than you think, or Captain Jellicoe is actually a really good captain, or something like that. I didn't click on it because that's nonsense.
Yeah, I watched that video, and
did you?
Yeah, it was nonsense. I think that's Steve Shives. I really respect him a lot. Love his channel, but
it was Steve Shives.
Yeah. But that premise was just wrong. I'm sorry. Jellicoe was. I mean, it's like wanted to change the shifts from 5 to 4 for no goddamn reason. Fuck up everyone, and everyone would be so less efficient. And he didn't care. When Riker tried to point out his mistake, he's like, "Shut up, get it done." What a terrible I'm sorry, he's a terrible captain. And
Riker, I mean, that's a terrible boss. Like if a boss comes into my work and wants to change everything, then everybody's going to say "fuck you" and quit. Like that's a terrible.
Yes. Exactly, and Riker was totally in the right. And so I heard so many YouTubers say, "Oh, Riker was wrong to challenge Jellicoe and being a dick to him." I'm like, no, fuck that. He was totally. I love that scene when Jellicoe had to beg for him to fly the shuttle. It's so fucking awesome. Anyway. But anyway, this showed the way that Pike is. He's like so friendly with it, so casual with the crew. This is the best captain. I agree. He might even be better than Picard. I'll throw it out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid opinion. I just have so much years and years and years of nostalgia and loving Picard a lot that it would be really hard for anyone to overtake him. For me personally, but.
All right, the one thing Picard might have over Pike is his speeches. As much as good as Pike's speeches were, they were not Picard level.
Yeah, I don't even think they were. They were mediocre in my opinion. His speeches.
Really? I like the one he gave at the end of episode 1.
Yeah. Anyways.
All right, so let's go ahead and move over to episode 3, Ghost of Valyria. If I recall, I think we have a difference of opinion on this one because I loved this one. This was one of my favorites. It just did the way it dealt with the issue of prejudice and preconceptions, and I love how they use Federation's prejudice of genetic engineering, because that's actually true to Star Trek. If you look back in the history of Trek, they do have a prejudice against people who are genetically engineered because of their own like bad history with Khan or whatever. But what if there was a species who were genetically engineered, but they're not like evil Superman, and they actually want to help people, which is what we meet here in Illyrian. In fact, find out number 1 is one of them, which I love that revelation. It was like the better way of doing the bullshit they did with Bashir because they didn't wait 5 seasons to fucking do it. They did it like in the 3rd episode, and so you buy it a lot more. And I felt like, and I loved the showcasing how Pike forgave Una, and then Una immediately was able to pay it forward and do the same thing from Vega, where he had caused the whole issue with the virus and everything. But I know you kind of don't like virus episodes, though.
Well, as I've said many times, I don't like virus episodes, but it just shows how good of a show Strange New Worlds is they did a great job with it. I ended up giving it a 7 out of 10. So as far as virus episodes go, this is the best that they could possibly do. And I do agree with you. The Una storyline was the strength of it. I wish they had done more with Una in this season. I feel like other than this is the only eccentric episode that she gets. In a lot of episodes, I feel like she's kind of in the background. I wish they did more with her.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree. They should have done more with her.
Yeah, and that's why we'll get to episode 10 when we get there, but I didn't like that they took her away already, so I hope that they resolve that pretty soon within season 2 and then give her more episodes. I want to see more of her. But yeah, that was a really great storyline for her, and I agree with you about the underlying themes of prejudice and showing that the Federation does have some prejudices. And if this wasn't Deep Space Nine, people would go, "Oh, this is against Gene Roddenberry's vision." You can't show that they're not perfect. But now I liked it that they showed that the Federation is not perfect, because it's not. And I think those were really important issues to deal with, and they did it. The writing was excellent. They did a really good job with that. It's still a virus episode, which I still like. I've been over the virus episodes since Next Generation was still on the air in the 90s, so I'm so done with them. And also, I didn't like the Mabanga ending because I thought the episode was going to end after Pike had the talk with Una, and I felt that attacking on a Mabanga story was undercutting an episode that was completely about Una and all about. I feel like when we get the resolution to her story, that's the end of the episode. And the Mabanga thing felt tacked on to me, so that also maybe made it lose a point, I think, because I didn't like that. I wish they had just saved that entirely for a different episode. And I get what you're saying about, well, Una gets to then go and pay it forward and do the same thing. I don't think she needed to. Like, I would have preferred if it just ended after we get resolution to her story, because it was her story for the whole episode. But that's just me.
Yeah, well, I disagree. I actually loved that ending. I think I almost cried at the end. I didn't mind them throwing in the Mabanga thing in, because I think it was foreshadowed earlier with it causing the whole virus incident in the first place.
I just didn't feel that you end an Una episode on an emotional moment that is about a completely different character. I just didn't like it. It was Una's episode. It should have ended with her.
Okay, well, fair enough. I'm pretty sure Lost has done that a lot, where they'd have a centric episode, but they'd end it with an important character beat for a different character.
Yeah, I know. I probably didn't like that either. I don't remember. I don't remember any specifics.
Fair enough. Yeah, me neither. I can't think of any, but I'm sure they had.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Brandon in the chat says Ghost of Valyria felt too much like Doctor Who to me. Well, I'll have to take your word for that, because I've never seen and never
Doctor. Yeah, Brandon, you know that we don't get your Doctor Who references. We've been through this before.
Anywho, let's go ahead and move over to the next episode, which is Memento Mori. I love this episode. I thought it was super intense, but I kind of feel like I don't like it as much as everyone else does, because I have heard several other people say it was the best of the season, where I think it's not even close. It's like 5 or 6 for me. But I still liked it. I still enjoyed it. I thought it was like a super intense episode, where it's like the high tension, where the Enterprise is like in constant threat of danger, and Pike has to use his wits. And I love, and we see his captain again. We see what an amazing Captain Pike is, the way he navigates it, and just like the banter between the characters. When Spock is like, said something about how the black hole or singularity would crush the ship, and Pike's like, "Yeah, good idea. Let's take the ship." And he's like, "That is not what I said."
Yeah.
That kind of camaraderie really showed, and it was a super tense episode. But for me, I still liked it. For me, it wasn't like the best of the best, top notch sort of thing. It was just an enjoyable, intense episode.
It was my favorite of the season until episode 10. But as I said in my episode 10 review, that was the first truly great Star Trek episode, in my opinion, that the season did. So I don't consider Memento Mori a truly great Star Trek episode, but I thought it was the best until episode 10. And I was a little disappointed. We mentioned Steve Shives before, but he said, well, I mean, Memento Mori is still, for me, by far the best episode of the season, and it's not close, even after watching episode 10. And I was like, what? What? And I'm glad that you went on and for your episode 10 review and said the same exact thing that I said, that it's one of the greats. I'm like, yes, somebody agrees with me. Thank God.
Yes.
I'm like, what? I don't know. So it's not one of the greats, but it's still, to me, I think I probably would have it. it's between this and Norman's favorite episode, episode 8, as I think it's my second favorite of the season, behind episode 10.
Actually, yeah, I think I have this fourth. I have so episode 10, then Norman's favorite episode 8, then Ghost of Valyria, and then this. That's how I would have. Oh no, I do Strange New Worlds and then this. So this is 5 after the premiere.
Yeah, now this would probably be my second, and for all of a lot of the reasons you said, I really loved how Pike got to showcase how good of a captain he was, because he was having to make life or death decisions in a split second, and they could have very easily gone wrong. But no matter what he does, they could very easily go wrong, because he was in a very tough situation, but he's very decisive. And the scene you mentioned with Spock, I love that too. and just the interaction between the characters all season long was just so good. Like, there's so many great little quips and lines thrown in there. I can't remember if this was it. And I like the little quips between Pike and Ortegas. I want more Ortegas next season when she needs to be a little more developed. But I like the little quips that they have. I think there may have been some in this episode. I get them all mixed up. But I love all of that. And this was a really strong Leanne story. And we get more of her backstory. And I kind of like that we didn't see the Gorn. I don't know. I kind of wish they had kept it that way, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, really?
If they're gonna just make them be like the aliens, yeah.
Well, what I thought was, like, I thought it worked that we didn't see the Gorn in this episode, but I was like, but we need to see them in later episodes.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I just didn't like the way that they ended up doing them in episode 9. But yeah, I like this episode much better as a Leon episode and as a Gorn episode. Yeah, and the tension was just so high all throughout this episode. And I also like the resolution of Spock doing the mind meld on her, and then her also getting like a little glimpse of.
See, here's the thing. I was going to bring that up because I thought that scene was kind of unnecessary. Because I didn't really give them any information to help them survive and beat the Gorn? I can't remember.
Yeah, I thought it did.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. I don't know. It just seemed out of place to me for some reason. Like, Spock is being a bit willy-nilly with his mind. I don't know. and it seems like it was there for, I don't know, the whole thing, how she kept seeing her brother, her dead brother. I don't know. Something about that didn't really work for me.
Yeah. I thought it worked well. I really liked it.
All right. Cool. So let's go ahead and move over to the next episode, Spock Amok. Is Spock Amok?
Spock Amok.
Spock Amok. I actually love this episode. I'd actually put this as my sixth favorite behind Memento Mori. This is definitely one of the better lighthearted comedy episodes of the entire franchise, excluding Lower Decks, of course, because Trek doesn't really do lighthearted comedy very well. And this episode is an exception that I think has a lot of heart. It gets to a lot of character stories. It has a great character story for Spock, because he's all worried that everyone's thinks less of him because he's half human, but really that's not the case, and it's just all in his head. And I love how I think it's one of the better uses of a body swap premise, which is usually a dumb cliche that's usually used horribly, but they actually use it pretty well here. And it really worked for me. And I like the side plot with Pike, negotiating with the aliens and realizing that he has to show empathy. Like, that was another amazing Pike moment for me, which shows what a good captain he is. So I really like this one. This episode really worked for me.
Well, I'm going to correct you on one thing. It wasn't one of the better body swap episodes. This is by far the best body swap episode ever made, because usually I hate them. I think they're terrible. And this I liked. So it is the only time I've ever seen this dumb trope done well, in a way that I actually enjoyed it. And God, I gotta remember the name of these actors and actresses, because I've heard her name before, but I can't remember it. But the woman who plays T'Pring, and her chemistry with Ethan Peck is really good. I wasn't too keen at first on them, like, pretty much retconning T'Pring and Spock's relationship. There's no way that it was like this if you watch them with time. Like they had, it made it clear that they hadn't had any contact with each other for most of their life. That it was just an arranged marriage. So I was like, I don't know about that retcon, but after episode like this, I love that they did that retcon, because the chemistry between the two is so good. I really like T'Pring as a character, and I think that, even though I don't really love body swap episodes, I think it actually really worked well for them to get to see from the other's point of view, and see what the other one has to go through, and helps them to understand each other. And it sounds like that would be something that would be really corny and cheesy, but it actually worked.
One of the things, I'm sorry to interrupt, but one of the things I thought really worked about the body swap premise is the fact that Pike bought it instantly, because most times they would have the other characters be in denial or refuse to know it. And I do like the fact that they immediately told Pike, and that he immediately bought it, and that they didn't go through the shenanigans. What did they say? Oh, we do not like hijinks.
Yeah, this is an awful lot like hijinks. I actually love that. That actually helped ease my pain for the body swap. The fact that they were kind of making fun of themselves a little bit. I kept saying, this seems an awful lot like hijinks. I loved that. I love that. I had a lot of fun with this episode. It's an episode that I would have thought that I wouldn't have liked. But I remember afterwards hearing multiple people saying it was the best of the season at that point. And at episode 5, I was like, no, well, I wouldn't say that.
That's the same. Those are the same people think Trouble with Tribbles is the best episode.
Yeah. I have been on the record many times as saying that I don't really care for Star Trek doing outright comedy episodes. I prefer the comedy to be folded into a serious episode to bring moments of levity, which Strange New Worlds also does brilliantly, by the way. It's done that a lot really well this season. I typically am not in favor of the all-out comedy episode unless it's Lower Decks. Lower Decks is a whole different thing, but I'm talking about in the regular, live action Star Trek, which takes itself a little more seriously. And but I did enjoy this episode. I did really like it. So to me, well, at this point, after the first 5 episodes, I'm like, they did the virus trope that I normally hate. They did the comedy episode that I normally hate, and I enjoyed both of them, and they did a really good job with them. So that just showed me how good Stranger New Worlds is. They can do things that I don't typically like, and I like them because they do such a good job with them.
All right, so Jake Heeman in the chat says Nurse Chapel has to lose most of her memory in season 2 because she had no clue who T'Pring was. Which, all right, here it is. The whole T'Pring appearance in Stranger Worlds totally breaks canon. Now, you mentioned you're okay with that. I'm okay with that too. But I've accepted that it breaks canon. I had people arguing with me, trying to justify, it doesn't actually break canon. No, it fucking does. I went back and watched Amok Time, and in that episode, Uhura says to Spock when she sees T'Pring, "Oh, she's beautiful. Who is she?" And then Spock says, "That is my wife." And they immediately cut to Nurse Chapel looking shocked. "Oh, it's your wife." So yes, absolutely breaks canon 100%. But that's fine. They can do their own whole thing. Nurse Chapel is by far my least favorite character of Stranger Worlds.
Yeah, me too. And a lot of people say they love her. And I get the actress is doing a great job. It's a good character, but I wish
give her a different name.
Give her a different name.
Give her a different name, and she'd be a fine character.
My thing with Nurse Chapel is it makes me sad to think that she's gonna like get a lobotomy or something and lose her personality in the future, and just have no personality except just pining over Spock. Oh, Spock, and that's her old person. Like, well, what happened to her personality? Like, so that it makes me sad to think that this character is supposed to grow up and become the, personality-less character from the original series.
Yeah, it's not the same character at all. It's just not. It's just like a totally different character. So why did he should have just given her a totally different name?
Yeah.
Like in the Mbega thing, he comes off totally different as well, but that doesn't bother me because he was only like a guest in 2 episodes. So if you want to,
yeah, I still want to know how he loses his job to Dr. McCoy. And you notice that in the alternate reality, he's still the doctor.
Yeah,
Pike is still the captain.
So maybe Pike being around caused him not to lose his job. I honestly thought like his daughter was going to play into him being demoted, but that actually didn't happen.
Yeah,
it's not yet. But anywho, let's go ahead and move over to the next episode, which is the one I think we both agree is the weakest of the season.
Yeah, we do both agree on this one. It's the next one where we're going to be fighting. But
I think this is our biggest disagreement. Yeah. But anyway, this one, lift us where suffering cannot reach. I thought it was like they have nuggets of good idea. I feel like, to me, this feels like a script that they needed more time. They needed more drafts. And this, I was talking earlier about how 10 episode seasons are great because they have more time to perfect it. I think they needed a bit more because I think the ideas were good. I think the execution was lacking.
Yeah, to me, I felt that the Pike romance to me didn't really work. And I felt that spending all that time on it took away from developing the plot of the rest of the episode, which ended up feeling empty and hollow to me because they didn't really develop it and I didn't care about it. I didn't feel invested in it. I feel like if they had just eliminated that romance altogether, quite honestly, and just completely focused on the story of this kid. And I think they should have framed it differently. I think you said something similar in your review where I think the dad, I think he should have asked for asylum immediately as soon as that lady was gone and said, and it didn't make any sense that he was still lying to them. Why was he doing that for? Why was he deceiving them?
The episode could happen.
But the episode would have happened differently. Then it kind of becomes like this dilemma that Pike is in where he has to decide whether to turn the kid over and then it becomes kind of a different episode. But I think it would have been a more interesting episode, quite honestly, in my opinion. So
yes. Absolutely agreed. But the reason why they did that is because they wanted to withhold the information. They wanted it to be a big twist, shocking ending. What was really going on with the kid being killed. And I think had they not done that and had they revealed that at the start of the episode, it would have been a way more interesting episode.
Yeah, and it was super obvious that there was something up there, that they were going to do something horrible to the kid. Like, it wasn't a surprise. So why make it one? Why pretend that it's some big twist?
And I didn't care for this. This has felt most Kirk-like, the Pike romance thing in this episode.
Yeah.
And almost every episode of the original series, Kirk would run into an old flame, someone used a relationship. Oh, it's you again. And so they did the same bullshit here with Pike. And as I said in my review, it's a narrative cheat. It's a cheat for them because if they just meet a character and fall in love in 2 seconds, people are like, oh, that's dumb. They fall in love too quickly. So
Kirk did that too, as well.
Yeah, he did that as well, to be fair, yeah. but it's a cheat to be like, oh no, they already fell in love before, you just didn't see it happen off screen. Like, that's bullshit. Like, I didn't care for that.
And you would know that Kirk was seeing someone he loved from his past because it would go and
they would have like glowing lightings around her head.
Yeah, they did that for Spock in that crappy episode. What was it, This Side of Paradise or whatever?
Oh yeah, that's right.
He started playing that music. I remember when I did my rewatch of it, and I was expecting it to be about Kirk, but all of a sudden, like they focus in on Spock. I'm like, wait, what? But they're using Kirk's love theme with Spock. But anyways, I'll get off that.
That's the episode where they're like tripping on LSD and looking at clouds. Like, but yeah, so yeah, I mean, I like the idea. I like the commentary they're making, like, because in comparing to modern day societies, because a lot of the rich, countries have their wealth because at the expense of poorer countries where children are suffering. So it's a good commentary, which I appreciate, but they just did a horrible job at executing it. Like, they could have done this better.
Yeah, and I also the lady says, well, this is no worse than what you all do. And I'm like, well, but why didn't Pike not put that argument down? Because supposedly in the 23rd century with the Utopian Federation, with Gene Roddenberry's vision, that is not a thing anymore. They don't have poverty anymore. That was the whole point of it. So why did Pike not say that?
Yeah, like even in the Enterprise, they established like poverty had been eliminated by that point. So there is no poverty. So like,
it's a good analogy for today, but she was trying to compare it to Pike's day, which he should have shot that down immediately, and it was so frustrating that he didn't to me.
Well, the fact that he didn't makes me think the episode's trying to tell you that she's right, but she's not. And she should.
I actually heard, I don't remember who it was, but there was one reviewer who was like, oh, she really got Pike there. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
Pike didn't really have an answer there. Well, yes, he did. He just didn't use it. He had plenty of answers. That was a stupid statement.
Exactly. Anyway. All right, so let's get into the next episode, the Serene Squall. Now, I want to start out by saying that apparently I've learned there was a lot of controversy over this episode because it features a non-binary actor, and I've got to admit to something. I wasn't even aware of that when I made my review for this episode. I didn't become aware of that until after I watched the episode. And I like the actor. I like them. I guess, no, she uses she, her
pronouns. She uses she, her pronouns. Yeah. So one of the reviews, Steve Shives, if somebody says the character uses they, them, and I was like, I don't know where you're getting that from. I didn't hear the character ever referred to as they, them, but I do know that the actress uses she, her.
Yeah, so I thought that she did a great job. I liked her as an actress. Actually, now even before I realized, that she was non-binary, that I thought it was unique having a more modern character, a more modern actor. Right, it made me think really goth at first, and have her play like a normal character. And I was like, yeah. So I actually liked her. And this episode has her acting or whatever appearance has nothing to do with why I didn't like this episode. I just felt like this episode just didn't work for me because there's certain tropes that you really hate, such as the virus and the amnesia. You absolutely can't stand that trope. For me, the trope I cannot stand is characters of the crew getting captured and outsmarting them because of dumb underlings. Like, I hate that trope so much. I absolutely can't stand it. And why this episode frustrated me, and I wouldn't say I didn't like it. I did like it. Definitely better than the previous one, but it was probably my least favorite after that. But the reason why is because it started out really good with a lot of promise. And then they went into but they were portraying the Serene Squall as this evil, impossible to beat pirate ship that would totally outwit you, and they turned out to be a bunch of fucking idiots, which they could just easily outwit. And to me, that really undermined the entire episode.
Yeah, but not the true captain of it. She was smart. Those were just the underlings.
Yeah, but if the ship was that big of a badass, then her first officer should be able to carry on with that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be
I don't know. I guess I didn't take that storyline that seriously. To me, that was like kind of the comedic relief. And again, that's something I don't usually like in Star Trek, where they have a B plot that's just there for comedy. But this one, for whatever reason, worked for me, because Strange New Worlds does things that I usually don't like and makes them work for me. So I actually really enjoyed the Pike subplot, because I didn't take it seriously. I took it as a comedy. I thought it was really funny. I thought how they were just like, oh, we're gonna do the, what did they call? I don't remember anymore. My memory is.
Oh yeah, alpha beta.
Whatever. I like that. I thought that was funny. It was worked for me. It was a good comedy. It wasn't. I'm not. I think saying that. Was it? To me, just looking at it like, they just overtook these dumb crewmates. How could they be so dumb? Because it's supposed to be a badass pirate ship. Is taking it too seriously. I think it wasn't meant to be taken seriously. I was more focused really on the plot with Captain Angel and Spock and T'Pring. And I think in a lot of ways, the Spock and T'Pring relationship, I liked it better in this episode than in episode 5, because this was a more serious take on it, even if it wasn't always the central focus of it. And I liked kind of the relationship develops between Captain Angel and Spock. And when she was pretending to be good or whatever, they kind of had developed a bond. And then when she revealed herself, she still, I think she genuinely wanted to convince Spock to go join his brother. And I think she wanted to try to convert the Vulcans, and they still had this bond. She still seemed to like him and care about him. And Spock, I think she said some things about logic and being human that Spock thought about. And I think that gotten wheels turning in his head. And I really like that dynamic between the two of them. So that's kind of what more of my focus was of the episode, rather than the silly subplot. So that's why I really enjoyed it.
But I also differ, because I actually didn't like that storyline as much either. I didn't really like the reveal of her being evil. I predicted it. I saw it coming, but that's not why I didn't like it. I just didn't. To me, and again, nothing against the actress. To me, this is more about the writing. To me, it felt like she turned mustache twirling evil all of a sudden.
See, I disagree that she's mustache twirling. She's melodramatic, and she's got. So I could see why someone would think she's mustache twirly, but what makes her dynamic and interesting is that she still genuinely likes Spock, and they still have that interesting dynamic together, which is multi-dimensional and is definitely not mustache twirly. But I can understand how one would see her that way, because she definitely, the way she's got a lot of bravado and
to me, she was a much more interesting character when it was just a good. When they made her evil, she became less interesting to me.
Yeah, and I don't know, her bond with Spock to me is what still made her interesting.
And Brandon in the chat says too close to a Syra for me, and I agree.
You guys are just not seeing the whole picture. You're just seeing the surface level that she appears to be like a Syra, but there's really much more to her. And I can't wait to see this character again. I don't care what anyone says. I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, I would not be opposed to seeing this character again. I just hope they write her better, make her interesting. I think there are ways they could. I don't think the character's complete trash the way Osira is. So I'd never want to see her again. So I'd be open to it, but I don't know. It just didn't work in this episode for me.
Yeah, and I do have to confess, and this is not the whole reason why I like this character, because everything I said about her and Spock is true. But I instantly had a crush on this actress, and I knew instantly that she was queer in some way. I guess now that I've been queer and living as a queer and within the queer community the last couple of years, now we can recognize each other, because I knew instantly she was trans or something just by looking at her. And she, to me, emits this kind of she's very sexy in a queer sort of way that I was immediately drawn to. So I did have a predisposition to like this character, I think, because I really like this actress, and I still kind of want to watch the reboot of Queer as Folk, because she's in it. It doesn't seem like it's that good looking at what the plot is, but I think I'm going to check it out just because she's in it. But I do have to admit that. But at the same time, I still really thought that the plot worked for me, the character interactions, and I do want to talk about the ending, though, unless you want to say more to that.
Real quick, I wanted to say that that's totally fair what you just said, and in fact, I actually once I learned that she was non-binary, I appreciated like her performance and the character in this episode more. So that made me actually appreciate the episode more. Anyway,
but one more thing, what I really appreciated, I was curious if she was assigned male at birth or assigned female at birth, and she's not telling you. So I was like, that's awesome. And she's like, none of your fucking business.
Agreed.
Yeah. So what did you think about the Cyborg?
The funny thing is, I actually kind of like the Cyborg thing.
I do too. I actually do too.
I thought you didn't. In your review, I thought you said you didn't like the Cyborg reveal.
No, it's not that I didn't like it. It was just that I was like, I don't know if that's that. What I was saying was I had just done my Star Trek V review like a couple weeks before that, or like 3 weeks before that, or something, and I had said in that review that Cyborg needs to be a character that they never ever bring back, and they wipe out of canon. And I joked that Star Trek Picard would bring Cyborg back because they brought back Assignment Earth. So and I said Cyborg is a terrible character and should just be wiped out of canon, and I didn't understand how it would work with Michael Burnham because because I just watched Star Trek V, Cyborg and Spock weren't raised together, but they did have interactions in childhood. There's some scene where Cyborg's like, oh, remember when we were in school and blah 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 blah. So they did spend some time together as kids in the original. So I was like, how does that fit in with Michael Burnham? It doesn't, so we should just pretend Cyborg doesn't exist. But they kind of retconned that Spock didn't know him at all, which makes it fit with Michael Burnham. So that made it okay for me. And then when I thought about it, I was like, my biggest problem really was Cyborg was a poorly written character for that awful movie. So if you're going to write Cyborg well with the excellent writing that Strange New Worlds has been doing, I'm fine with him being in the show.
Yeah, and I actually really liked it. I'm glad that they acknowledged that Cyborg existed. I actually wouldn't be happy with them just erasing him from canon. As much as that movie sucks, and as much as that character in that movie sucks, he existed, and I would appreciate it if they would acknowledge it. And as you say, if he reappears in Strange New Worlds, he's probably going to be written well and acted well. So that's fine. As long as you do this character correctly, I'm not going to have an issue with it.
Yeah, but don't step on canon too much. I mean, but like not have him be like the big villain, reoccurring villain all throughout all of the seasons, and everybody knows him super well. And there's Cyborg again. Like that's
well, that would be very just like the T'Pring thing then.
Yeah, well, it already kind of is a little bit, but we'll see how they handle it. But I think my biggest hang-up was I had just seen Star Trek V, and the way that it was described, it didn't seem like he and Michael Burnham could coexist. So I was like, well, if you can only have one, let's just keep Michael Burnham and get rid of Cyborg. But the other option is just to say that, oh no, Spock never saw Cyborg when they were kids. So that makes it work.
All right, cool. So let's go ahead and move over to the next episode. We keep calling it Norman's favorite episode.
I love this episode so much.
The Elysian Kingdom. He wrote a comment in my video where he compared it to If Wishes Were Horses. You remember that?
That's one of the worst episodes in Deep Space Nine. I think it is number 5 or so on my 10 least favorite Deep Space Nine episodes.
Yeah, it was number 3 or 4 for me.
Yeah, it's in my top 10. It's definitely my top 10 for least favorite Deep Space Nine episodes. So that's an insult to this well-written, well-constructed amazing character episode to compare to that piece of
It's
crap.
funny, like Deep Space Nine episode I would most compare it to, the one that reminded me the most of, is The Visitor.
Yeah. I was also thinking of crap. Dear Dr. Bashir. What the hell is that called? Why am I blanking on the name of it? Dr. Bashir with the James Bond.
Oh, God damn it. Our Man Bashir.
Our Man Bashir, yeah. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit too, which I actually enjoyed that episode, Our Man Bashir, which was one of the rare, like, kind of holodeck, trapped in the holodeck type of episodes that I enjoyed, because I usually didn't like that trope. But I thought this one was even better than that one. But it made me kind of think of it because the crew was, acting with these different characters.
Yeah, no, that actually is similar to that. And also I compared it to particularly the ending with this daughter. I compared it to like a much better version of Imaginary Friend.
Oh yeah, Imaginary Friend is such a good episode. That is the one. Picard is known for his great speeches, but that is like the worst Picard speech.
Yes.
He's basically like, "Oh, children, if you only believe in fairies, then your dreams will come true." I mean, that's not what he said, but it was like along those lines.
Yeah.
I was just like, "Shut up, Picard, please." But
with this episode, like, I was having fun with it. Like, I thought it was a really fun, lighthearted episode, but then it has the ending that like brought me to tears. That
me too.
Really
I was bawling at the end of that episode.
And it made it in retrospect, it like made that episode overall much more powerful. Like, one of my favorite lines is when the daughter says, "Did you have fun, Daddy?" And he's like, "Yes, I did." Like, that was such a touching moment.
Which I think I don't know if that's true. I don't know how but yeah, I did like that. I did like that too. And how I'm just getting even a little teary even thinking about it. Like how the adult version comes back and says, "You need to let me go. You need to live your life now."
That's what reminded me of The Visitor. That's like so much like The Visitor.
It is so much like The Visitor.
In a good way. Yeah, no, I'm getting even a little teary-eyed just even thinking of that. No, it was one of the best scenes of the season. I don't care what anyone says, Norman. All right, let's stop picking on Norman.
No, I mean, I'm sorry, but if you can compare this to Wishes Were Horses, you're missing the point, because this was an incredible episode. And it was one that
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I came into it. I saw the trailer and I saw that sneak peek scene. I was like, "What the fuck are they doing? This is gonna suck. This is gonna be terrible." But I was underestimating Strange New Worlds.
Well, see, that we just talked about, I liked the episode 7 less than you did. So for me, it was like episode 6 and 7 was like two kind of poor episodes in a row. And I was like, I saw the preview for this. I'm like, "Oh, please, no, not another one. Don't end up being a bad show." But then it ended up being amazing, and I absolutely loved it. But that moment.
Oh, go ahead.
And Himmer was so amazing in this episode. It made me so upset that they killed him off in the next episode.
Yeah, I know.
He wasn't even in like 3 or 4 episodes. And
3 in a row. Episodes 5, 6, and 7. He was not in at all. Not even for a second. And he also was not in episode 1, except for at the very, very end, he like beams aboard the ship and we have new crew members coming on, and they show him.
Oh, sorry. Brandon just blew my mind. I didn't even realize this. When Brandon said, "I laughed at the wizards being called Castor and Pollux." I didn't get that. Those are the brothers from Face Off, from the Nick Cage Face Off movie.
Oh,
Castor,
I didn't even get it when
Troy.
I didn't even get it when Brandon just wrote that out. You had to explain that to me. I don't remember what the people were called in Face Off. I haven't seen that movie in what year did it come out in? I haven't seen it since then. So
I just saw like pitch meetings and stuff.
I did see the pitch meeting for it, but I wouldn't remember what the names of those people were.
Yeah, he had this whole bit about how Pollux was a common name. Hey, everyone here is named Pollux. But anyway, But yeah, I didn't catch that reference. Oh, that's even more awesome. But apparently another thing I found out from a different video, that apparently the book was written by Benny Russell.
Benny Russell, yeah, I didn't catch that either. But I did.
Which
find
I
that out
guess
later.
they're saying he was a real person then, and just not a vision. And Cisco's like vision.
I guess so. Apparently, or that was just a fun Easter egg that they just felt like doing. Like, and then
Yeah,
you're
probably.
not meant to think of it too deeply.
But if Benny Russell saw it and saw it was being played out, he would be very proud because it's real. Don't you understand? It is real.
But I also said in my review that I like this better than the other. Like, I was thinking of like Cupid and like Hollow Pursuits, where they recreate the Robin Hood and then they recreate Three Musketeers. And whenever they recreate a storybook, it's always like a trite old one that everybody's seen a gazillion trillion times, and they just. I don't need to see my Star Trek characters in it, but this was actually a good story. Like, I thought it was genuinely like a legit good story, a good children's story that was not one that I've seen a million billion times. And I think it worked well to have Mabanga kind of explain things to us. And I forget who it was. I don't remember if it was you or some review said that they didn't like that it was flashing to the pictures, that was a little bit too.
Oh no, it wasn't me.
Yeah, that was a little bit too beating us over the head. No, I thought we needed that. Like, I thought it was a great way of telling us that story. So I loved all of that.
Yeah, I think that enhanced it. Yeah. Well, all right. So Brandon's making me feel like an idiot. Castor and Pollux are actually Greek mythology. It's not from Face Off. They probably just named the characters in Face Off after. So now I feel bad. But whatever. I know pop culture more than I do Greek mythology. Sue me. But yeah, I love the I think Brandon mentioned the abracadabra moment. God, I love that. That was such a great moment where it was like abracadabra and just beamed them away. That was so good. And I also love the moment when they Una and Ortega's characters were like kind of having a thing.
Yeah.
And that was what made Mbaga realize that the alien took it from his daughter's mind and not his mind.
Yeah.
His daughter always shipped them. Like, that was so cool.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. I really like that too. But the hammer abracadabra thing, I loved at the time, but now it just makes me sad because after this, I was like, yes, I can't wait to see more hammer. I can't wait to see them actually develop this character. And maybe this is a good transition into episode 9.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it makes me more sad that they kill him off in the next episode. Yeah, because it's an amazing event. But okay, let's go ahead and get into aliens. God damn, like, I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of Trek episodes that take inspiration from movies, but this is like, it was too much. It was too much. Like, they can retcon the Gorn, that's fine, but to retcon them to just make them the xenomorph from Aliens, I mean, and the Predator. They got Predator vision as well.
Yeah, he's a Predator vision.
But yeah, apparently, like, someone else online also did the same thing I did, where they point out each character was acting like a different character from Aliens. La'an was Ripley, Pike was Hicks, and then Sam Kirk was totally Hudson. The dude would go, "Game over, man!" Like, when Sam Kirk started freaking out, "Oh, we're gonna lose!" I'm like, "Hey, it's Hudson!" And then they had this little girl character that's Newt. I actually just call her Newt. I don't even care what they called her in the freaking episode. And although, like, this thing online said that Spock was Bishop, which I disagree. I think Himmer was Bishop, especially considering Bishop got ripped up by the Queen at the end. But yeah, it's it was an enjoy. Like it was shot well. It had good cinematography, and maybe I liked some of the moments with like Spock, like enacting his rage, because the Spock character story was the only thing that wasn't from Aliens. But yeah, I mean, especially having the Gorn babies like pop out of the person. Come on.
I do want to. It says J Kim in the chat says I agree they should have just done the Enterprise season 4 Gorn. Yes, but with updated like CGI, because if you look at the Enterprise season 4 Gorn now, it looks pretty bad. But
I mean, people like to complain about it, but I still like it better than the college mascot suit.
Obviously, yeah, it's an improvement. And I remember at the time we were like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" But now it's just technology has gotten so much better since then.
Yeah, now it looks like a video game. It's like,
but yes, I think it should have been modeled after that, but with modern day technology. But yeah, and I don't like that they made the Gorn like aliens. Like I don't like that. Like that's why I said earlier that I would prefer that they just not even show us the Gorn at all. If that's what they were going to do.
And they turned them into freaking monsters like that are impossible to like. When La'an was like, "Oh, we can maybe defeat these babies, but we don't have any chance against an adult Gorn." I'm like, "Oh, sure you do. Just get some gunpowder and bullshit and put it in."
Or just do like the double. Replace the back.
Yeah, that dog Gorn's nothing. They just go like,
the Gorn are pretty easy to defeat. Like, actually, they're super easy. Barely even confused. They just go. Yeah, no, I don't know. I didn't care for it. And honestly, what I said in my review was, if this had been a really strong character story like most of the episodes this season have been, then I think I would have forgiven the aliens thing. But I felt that there were too many character stories. When it started, I felt like, oh, we're following up with Uhura from episode 2, because seemed like it was about Uhura, and then we have a Spock thing, and then we have a Leon thing, and the Leon thing just didn't work for me in this episode.
I did kind of like her bond with the girl. I did like that one. How
you mean Ripley and Newt?
Newt, yes. Yeah. Ripley and Newt, yes. But it did make sense in La'an's overall story arc of having that childhood trauma. But yeah. And let's not forget Lieutenant Dead Meat.
I know.
I'd forgotten all about Dead Meat from Hot Shots until you mentioned it. Yes, that's exactly.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
I'm surprised. It's like, oh, I can't wait. I'm going to meet my wife and kids. We're going to be so happy, glad when as soon as we're done this mission.
I know. I know. Yeah, he should have just called it Dead Meat. But also, you didn't mention in your review, there was also that cadet who were like, we're celebrating these 2 cadets. Uhura.
I didn't recognize her. That's why. I didn't recognize that was the same person at the start of the episode, though.
Yeah. They were like, oh, here's this cadet that's been here the whole time with Uhura that we're also celebrating with Uhura because they've both been together this whole season. And I was like, well, she's dead. That's cadet Dead Meat. As soon as they had the, like, oh, look at this big deal. This ensign is a lieutenant now. I was like, well, Dead Meat. Oh, this cadet has been here the whole time. Dead Meat. I mean, it was just so obvious.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. No, I don't know. I got that feeling more with the lieutenant guy. I guess I didn't really latch on to that with the cadet. I didn't honestly, but when there was like some random person we'd never seen before, or you're being promoted to a lieutenant. Oh, he's dead. But Jay Cameron in the chat says this is random, but I hope season 2 has the Zindi. Actually, I wish any Star Trek would have some Zindi in it. I'm right there with you. I agree. Like Daniels said in the future, the Zindi joined the Federation, so I would like to see some more interaction with the Zindi.
Yeah, if they joined the Federation, then where the hell were they during all the Next Generation time period? And somebody said that Maddie said that insectoids were briefly in season 4 of Disco voting at the Federation.
Oh, really? Are you talking about the episode "The But to Connect" when they're all?
Yeah, when that's what I assume he means.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
I didn't either. Are you certain about that?
I could be.
Maddie Jester?
They do throw in a lot of cameos.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
I know they had like the Morn species and
and
all this other stuff there, so I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
But no, we need more than just a stupid cameo in the background that we don't even notice. Actually see that. Yeah. And for that matter, I'd rather see the Tholian than the Gorn. If you're gonna bring back an original series species that didn't get enough lip play, it should have been the Tholians. They're much more interesting, in my opinion.
I agree. I'm with you on that.
And Maddie says, yeah, the vote at the attack at the DMA that they were there. Okay. Apparently, Brandon didn't know that either. But anyway,
but you're right. They need to be more than just that.
Yes. So would you say this is your second least favorite episode of the season?
Yes, easily. So I've got, I would have episode 6 at number 10, this at number 9, and then episode 3 at number 8. That's how I would be the bottom of my.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is probably my third least favorite. All right. So let's get into the big finale, Quality of Mercy. This episode was, we already said it, an instant classic. Like I don't think it's too early for me to say that this is one of the best episodes of the entire Star Trek franchise, because as I mentioned in my review, I think doing alternate timeline time travel episode is hard to pull off, and when you do pull it off, I just fucking love it. It's just my thing. It really grabs me, and I think this is. And I never saw it this way until I heard you and several other YouTubers mention. But yeah, this is definitely like an episode of What If. It's like the What If Captain Pike was in command of the Enterprise during Balance of Terror. But I love the whole way that they justify it. Someone else was bitching about old Pike being there. I can't remember. That wasn't you, right? You didn't have
No, I was definitely not bitching about that.
Okay, someone had a problem with old Pike and said, "Oh yeah, it was this stupid former executive guy. That guy's an idiot." But anyway, he was complaining about it being old Pike and said it should have been Mbaga's daughter instead. I'm like, what? No. Like, what?
Well, good thing that guy is not a writer of the show.
Yeah,
that guy's an idiot. No. Of course, it has to be old Pike.
Yes.
And I love that they, brought in the movie uniforms. Although people who are nerdier than me, there's certain reviewers that I watch that pay way more attention to the ships and to the uniforms. And so I guess like it's different because the thing on the shoulder is a little longer and goes off to an angle. It looks exactly the same to me, but people
I didn't know.
People who are nerds about that kind of thing were like, "Oh, they changed the uniform."
The one thing I will point out, because I remember in your review you talked about how you had no idea what this episode was going to be about, and that Paramount did a great job of hiding the premise, which I agree they did. But I kind of watched this video that was over analyzing the trailer, and they gave away. They saw from Uhura's uniform that this was in the future, that there was a lieutenant uniform, and I was like, whoa, in the future. And then I saw other clips of the Romulans, and they clearly showed Romulans. I'm like, oh, fuck. So is they showing us Balance of Terror? And I was like, no, it can't, because Pike wasn't in command then. And it wasn't until I actually saw the episode, I was like, oh, they're showing us a different version of Balance of Terror. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's always good to know. Watch a video that overanalyzes the trailer.
Yes.
Because from just a quick watch of the trailer, I didn't catch the Romulans Romulans. And they didn't tell you it was the Romulans. They just made it out like they were fighting against some unseen villain of some sort that I didn't know who they were. And I was like, what the hell is this episode about? So I'm glad that I didn't overanalyze the trailer. Watch a video that overanalyzed the trailer.
Before I watched the video, though, I knew it was the Romulans, because in the trailer I remember seeing that when they were at the conference room with that dude, there was a big shot of the neutral zone thing with the Romulan neutral zone. So I was like, so the enemy's the Romulans then.
I must have missed that, but that alone doesn't tell you that it's balanced.
No, not exactly. No, not at all. It wasn't until I watched the video that I was like, hey, wait a second, this looks an awful lot like Balance of Terror.
Yeah, no, and see, I'm glad that, because I feel that it was much better going in having not the slightest clue that they were going to do an alternate timeline episode, let alone one that is doing kind of a recreation of Balance of Terror. And that's the other thing, you had said that it's hard to do alternate timeline episodes well. I think it's also a challenge to do kind of, I wouldn't say tribute, like a tribute episode or an episode that recreates a previous episode. It's hard to do that well as well. Or you can just go for, comedy and like trials and tribulations or whatever and not really care.
Yeah.
But to try to recreate a previously established episode and pull it off to the point where it doesn't seem like you're just, go, ooh, look at this, like what Trials and Tribulations does. You're just like, ooh, isn't this cool? We're showing that old episode again. To actually make it work and make it new and different is a challenge. And they pulled it off. And I don't remember if it was another YouTube video or if it might have been the Ready Room thing where they were talking about how they actually shot a lot of the same scenes exactly the same way. And it was the Ready Room because Will Wheaton was like, oh, you got to watch this, two of them next. You got to stream them together. I'm like, how do you stream them together? I don't know how to do that. But he actually showed like some of the scenes that are together. Like it goes shot by shot, like almost exactly the same. And yet they made it different and they made it interesting by putting Pike in there. And I loved that they show us that Pike, because I thought him he was a really, really good captain, but they showed that although he is a really, really good captain, he's not necessarily the right captain for every situation. And he would not have been the right captain in that particular situation, and things would have gone really bad if he had been. And so I really like that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. It's so some people, I've heard some people compare this to Trials and Tribulations, but the thing with Trials and Tribulations is that was just a tribute episode.
Yeah,
that's all it was. Where this stands on its own. Like, and I said this in my review, if you've never seen Balance of Terror before, you still enjoy this episode just as much. Maybe not just as much.
Not just as much, because you wouldn't get all of the little references.
but you don't need it. Like the story stands on its own. Like the story is strong enough, particularly as we said, that it closes out this ongoing story that was going on throughout this season of Pike having to deal with his future, and this makes him sort of accept that more. And I love that. I love the moment he met the kid that he knew was going to die, and that's like driving him to change the future. And then all of a sudden old Pike shows up. It's like, no, you don't want to do that. And that was it's like a great standalone premise. So whereas Trials and Tribulations, it's just nostalgia. That's all it is. It's all it is. It's a tribute.
Yeah, the premise of that is stupid.
It's nonsense. Yeah, the premise makes no sense. Nobody cares about the plot. It's just there to have fun, which is fine. It's a good episode for that. But this is way more than that. Like it's a good character, strong, one of the best character stories, and a great sci-fi alternate timeline shit, and it pays tribute on top of that. It's just like icing on the cake. I fucking love how they did some of this, like the dialogue they did rip right from Balance of Terror. I recognize that shit. And I love seeing the updated version. I love how the Romulan command, all right, so No, I think it was someone else who's complaining that it was Steve Shives complaining that we saw the Romulan commander, because if this is Pike having a vision, then why are we seeing outside of Pike's perspective? But who gives a fuck? Because I like seeing the Romulan commander.
Because we need to redo balance. Yeah. No, I think that's overanalyzing. Like, no, we have to see the Romulan commander. How could you redo Balance of Terror and we don't get to see inside the Romulan ship? That would be nonsense. Of course you have to. But I don't care if this is.
See, I was half expecting to see the Centaurian, and I was maybe a little disappointed we didn't. But that's fine. He wasn't necessary for the plot. The other angsty lieutenant, who was the same dude in Balance of Terror, he was necessary. He was all, and I totally bought that he would go behind his back. That's true to how that character was portrayed in Balance of Terror as well.
Yeah. I think we do have, excuse me, maybe a minor disagreement on Kirk. You didn't think Kirk was necessary, I think you said?
Yeah,
I mean, it was beaten over the head.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. Like, I didn't have any issues with. So many people hated the actor who played Kirk, and I'm with you that he's way better than Chris Pine. Like, Chris Pine is not Kirk. That's like some cocky James Bond wannabe. It's not Kirk. It's Captain Chris Pine.
It's Captain Chris Pine. Yeah, he's not Kirk.
Where so many people are like, "Oh, this actor is nowhere near as good as Chris Pine." I'm like, actually, he seems way more.
He's way better. I liked how he did enough to make me think that it was Kirk, because he did occasionally do the a little bit, but just very, very, very subtle. Like, he didn't like lay it on too thick, and he definitely brought himself to the role. And I think it was Steve Shives. It was like, well, Chris Pine and William Shatner really, they have this presence, and this guy didn't. Well, this guy is not the lead role, though. Like, he's not supposed to be the one who has the presence. It's supposed to be Pike. So, of course, he's not going to have that, like, stage presence.
I actually loved how he was a bit more pulled back and not as fucking hammy as William Shatner.
Yeah. No, I thought I loved this actor as Kirk.
As far as how I felt about I think that it's like a minor quibble for me. It's nothing that I really care about too much, but I do feel like the purpose of this episode was to showcase the difference between Kirk and Pike, and you could have done that without Kirk actually being there. And for me, that would have been more powerful had you just relied on the knowledge of this Pike is do things differently and has all fucked up, but we have to have them show us like an example, like on the nose. Oh, this is how I'd handle it differently, which I didn't think it was entirely necessary. But again, that's like a minor quibble. I don't think it like brings the episode down.
Yeah. Well, what I was gonna say is, I think it's because you said in your review you've seen Balance of Terror a million times, and I think that's the problem right there, because I haven't seen it that many times. So for me, it was necessary. Like, I wouldn't have. Relying on my knowledge of Balance of Terror would not have gotten the point across for me. And for people who have never seen Balance of Terror, I don't think it gets that point across. I think if you've never seen Balance of Terror, you probably would deduce that Kirk was probably the captain during that original scenario by the end of it. So I think to me it was necessary, and I personally really enjoyed seeing just really watching the contradiction in styles of captaining, because I had thought before, well, Captain Kirk and Captain Pike are very similar kinds of captain, but Captain Pike is better. But then when I watched this, I'm like, no, actually they're two very different captains, and Captain Pike is not really better. It's just they have different styles, and Kirk's style actually really does work better in certain situations, such as this situation. And the episode did a great job of proving that. So to me, I liked Kirk's presence there, but that's me.
I mean, I agree. I did like how they showcased the difference in style, because I've thought the same thing before. I thought, oh, they're both the same, but actually this episode they're totally different. But yeah, and then the ending with us, the ending scene with Spock and Pike, where when Pike comes back and Spock kind of gleams that Pike did something to save Spock, like that was so touching. Like I fucking love that. And like one of the in the ready room, one of the writers of the episode was saying that was meant to sort of set up for the menagerie and why Spock would go out of his way, risk his whole career to save Pike. And I think it does. That's exactly what I thought even before he said that this really, really sells the Spock and Pike relationship, and that he would risk everything to save Pike. And I think it retroactively makes Menagerie a better episode.
I do too, because I complained about the Menagerie. I didn't think it was a really good episode. My biggest complaint was it's just Captain Kirk sitting down and watching an episode of Star Trek. They dim the lights when they passing around popcorn. But I also, like, we didn't know who this Pike character was. We never really saw the relationship between Spock and Pike. So it was hard watching the Menagerie, just on an island, really feeling that connection because we had never seen it before. So yes, this does actually help to add to that and go, oh yeah, well they do actually have this really strong bond, and that this really does help to explain the Menagerie.
And I thought it was just a touching moment when they were like, you were very important to me, and like you were important to me as well. Like especially the way the actors played it. Like they're both amazing. Like they really
Yeah, I love Ethan Peck. I thought he was pretty good in Discovery, but after this, I think he's just amazing.
Yeah, I went back and watched some of the Discovery stuff, and I will say I think he improved in Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, as he should. That makes sense that he would improve.
Yeah, and not that it was bad in Discovery, but
he kind of grew into the role the more he played it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about the Una thing, because this didn't bother me, and it seemed to bother you a lot.
No, not a lot. I mean, I still gave it a 10 out of 10.
Oh yeah, sure.
No, it's just a minor quibble. See, again, I don't like ending one episode that's about one character with somebody else. And in both cases, I feel like Una got the short stick. Like the one episode was about her. Well, actually, Dr. Mbamba also got the short stick in that too, because I think they should have saved that for his own episode. The episode was about her, and they tacked on this Dr. Mbamba ending at the end. And this episode was all about Pike, and it should have been resolved that way. It should have ended with Pike and Spock. And there's no reason why they couldn't have done the Una thing in season 2. We can remember storylines, and you'll have your previously on. You'll say previously on Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and they show us scenes from episode 3, and then show us scenes from this, and we'll get it. So I didn't think it was. I guess they really wanted Pike's, girlfriend or whatever she is, fuck buddy, to be the one to arrest Una. But why? Why do you have to have
that aspect of it? I didn't like. Getting back to why I didn't like that character, what Captain Patel or whatever her name was. That felt a bit contrived to me. Like she's the one to arrest Una, and Pike's like, "Oh, how could you dare you do this to me?" That felt like a bit like. But I don't really know or care about this character. Like I don't know, that aspect of it I didn't really care for. But having the cliffhanger with Una being, I didn't mind that. To me, I think it fits in this episode because they did. I mean, you're right. They could just do it previously on, but I think this way works just as well because they did set up in this future that Una would be arrested, and so to me, it's like fitting that that's how they end the episode. That goes straight into that.
Yeah, no, I didn't like it, but again, it's a minor quibble. Doesn't ruin the episode. I still gave it a 10 out of 10 and think it's one of the greatest episodes in Star Trek history. So it doesn't ruin the episode by any means. I just would have preferred. Also, it reminded me too much of the ending of season 2 of Lower Decks. Like, are we just going to end every season with somebody getting arrested and having a cliffhanger about them being arrested?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was just gonna bring that up. That's the one quibble I had. It was like, I was like, wait a second, this reminds me. Oh yeah, it's just like the ending of Lower Decks. Yeah, so that felt, I don't know. Maybe they wrote this episode not knowing the ending of Lower Decks. I don't know. Some credits, but yeah, still. Yeah, I don't know, and I'm just over. Well, actually, I like this better than Lower Decks, though, and the reason why is because another trope I absolutely cannot stand is the wrongfully accused trope. I think they've done that way too much. In Lower Decks, that's where she's wrongfully accused. Where here, Una's actually not wrongfully accused. She actually is guilty of what they're accusing her of. So at least there's that.
Yeah. This is a complete side topic, but did you see the sneak peek for Lower Decks?
I did, yes.
Yeah, with the he's doing like the Picard winery thing. Except he's making raisins.
Raisins, yeah, that's right. And then all these hot chicks keep hitting on him, and he's completely oblivious to it. He's like, "Come on, the grape ones to the white ones. It's so easy. I don't need to show you this."
Yeah. I guess it's not coming out when it normally comes out. Normally it comes out in August, but I
read something somewhat recently that said it was coming out this summer, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they'll do like Westworld and announce it's coming out like 2 weeks before.
Just all of a sudden, boom, it's out.
Yeah, I hate that. Why would you do that? Because it seems like more people would watch it if you give them more time, more notice. Yeah. Anywho, so Jake Hammond says, "I thought Pike's girlfriend was going to be a Romulan spy. Her girl covers her ears, her hair covers her ears the whole time. It's kind of like what's her face from Picard season 2."
Yeah, except that you see her round ears sometimes, and this really annoyed me. The chick from season 2. Okay.
I think they were trying to say she was using her disguise technology.
Yeah, that she magically has all of a sudden in episode.
Yes. Oh, God damn it. Anywho, okay. So, I also got to briefly mention the music. The musical callback when they had the scene with the dun 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 dun. I think I heard someone said they thought it was really out of place. I didn't think so. I didn't think.
I said that I had two minds of it. I thought that on the one hand, it did feel a little out of place to me, but on the other hand, I don't give a crap because it was so cool. Like, it did feel like a little bit like, whoa, all of a sudden Strange New Worlds has turned into the original series. But at the same time, I didn't care because it was really, really cool and I loved it. So you're probably thinking of me. I did say
no, I think there was someone else who said it too, but they were more negative about it. Yeah. But no, I fucking love, and the Spock Amok episode too, how they did the classic.
I loved where they had the two Spocks like fighting each other.
Oh God, yeah. Okay, all right. Norman's back at what looks like the last minute. Is any season 2 speculations yet? I want a Una story that is a Lower Decks fix. I will accept. So yeah, well, now's the perfect time to get into any season 2 speculation. Do not write Una off the show. That is all I ask. Like, it's bad enough you did it with him already. Like, give Una more screen time. Give her more to do. I like this character. Rebecca remains awesome. Like.
And all the promotional, photos and stuff, it's like Pike, Spock, and Una sitting together. It was really billed as like they were the big three, but she really wasn't. Like, they didn't use her nearly as much as I wanted them to.
It feels like La'an featured more prominently than she.
Hora featured more prominently in her. Yeah. I feel like. Yeah, and freaking Nurse Chapel, I think, was a feature. Yeah, she did not feature prominently at all. So, as far as speculation of what they're going to do, I have no idea. But what I would like them to do is bring her back on the damn show immediately and give her more to do. That's what I want.
So Didn't in the ready room, like the writer producer guy say that the season 2 is going to do something Star Trek has never done before,
Yeah, he did say that.
Could end up just being a bunch of hyperbole, like it always is. But
he also said that they were going to resolve the Una and the Leon things in the second season, so that's going to be resolved.
No. Brandon says I want Ortegas to do something more. Yeah, like she didn't get her own episode, and she didn't really get fleshed out at all. She was just like a quippy character that makes like funny remarks.
Yeah.
And then Maddie says Scotty will turn up at some point. Maybe. I don't know if we need any more legacy characters, but I wouldn't like say, oh, fuck this show if he shows up. That's fine.
I would be okay if, like, in the last season, like the series finale, like, oh, I'm the new engineer, Scotty. Whatever, or start introducing the legacy characters more at the end. Yeah, I did love the Scotty voice in episode 10, though. Even though he's only credited as engineer, Scotty, come on.
Fucking Scotty.
So I think they probably credited him as engineer so that if people see the credits ahead of time, that they don't know that Scotty's going to be in it. Probably.
Probably.
So, but yeah, I did enjoy that, but I don't need to see him. I was fine that it was just a voice. Like, I don't need to see him cast. I don't need to see him on the show.
So, Jay Cuman, this sounds more like a statement of fact than speculation. Angel and Cyborg will be back.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's presenting that as a prediction, but I know.
Okay. I'd be fine with that, especially Cyborg. I'd like to see him back.
I think they were both set up to return next season.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
Yeah, I think that they will be. Ortega-centered episode, and I wanted a Hammer-centered episode, but I guess we're not getting that anymore.
Well, then I heard someone say that the actor is going to return in some form.
Oh, I don't know.
Hammer's twin brother, maybe? That would be dumb.
Hammer went back in time after he fell out and had a kid, and then what would a Romulan Andorian hybrid look like? I don't
know. Brendan says, no more Gorn, please.
We're getting more Gorn. I mean, we're definitely getting more Gorn.
I don't know. Don't make them the aliens again. Colonel Harlan says, not sure if we need more of Ortega's and her constant commentary of Pike's orders. I kind of liked her commentary of Pike's orders.
Yeah, I did too. I mean,
I liked how they were like, when Pike is like, take us in, it's like, what was this, first date or third date? Blind. Like, that was like that kind of interaction. I think is really cool.
No, I loved it. I love that interaction with her and Pike. And when she's like, "Are you gonna say the thing? Are you gonna say it?" He's like, "Hit it."
He's like, "I said hit it. I'm hitting it, sir. Nothing's happening."
No. I loved it. But everyone's got their own opinions, their own way of looking at it. More Tellarites, Jake Hammond says. Have we gotten any yet in this show?
They were mentioned in the Spock and Mock episode. Oh, they showed like they were watching the video of them, but the dudes and they were arguing. But that's it. Like, yeah. So they did technically appear, I guess.
Yeah. And
I honestly never liked the Tellarites. It seems impractical to have a species whose whole culture is to argue all the time.
Yeah, and it's one of those monocultures. Like, it's impractical to have a whole... Yeah, it's practical to have a whole species where everybody just wants to make money all the time, like the
Well,
Ferengi.
yes. Norman says, "How about the Noblins?" There we go. I wouldn't mind seeing some Noblins because they were supposed to be one of the founding members of the Federation, if Enterprise is to be believed. So,
yeah. So what the hell happened to them? Maybe there's going to be an episode where they discover the Denoblin homeworld has been destroyed.
Oh, maybe
that'll explain why they're completely absent from the rest of Star Trek.
All right, so we're about ready to end this now.
Yep.
Do you want to go ahead? I believe you already did this in your video, but do you want to give your rating out of 10 for this season?
Yes, I did already do it in my video, but I'll do it again. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Can't quite give it a 10 because there were a couple episodes that I felt were a little lackluster, but it's an amazing season of Star Trek. Is easily the best modern Trek season, and I maintain is by far the best first season. I know you still like Voyager, but personally, I think it's by far the first season of Star Trek. So I gotta give it a 9.
Yeah, I'm also gonna give it a 9. To me, it's a very strong 9. If I did 0.5s, I'd say 9.5, but I don't do that. So I'll just say it's a very strong 9, almost a 10, almost give it a 10. But yeah, there was a few episodes that I didn't like that kind of brought it down. But it was an amazing start. Like it was just like they were able to do episode after episode so great and maintain these great character stories. And I fucking love Anson Mount as Pike. Like I think maybe the best captain Star Trek has ever had. Maybe. It's hard to put him above Picard. I agree, but he's definitely up there. At least he was never a total fuckwit to a teenager on the bridge. Get off my bridge!
Yeah, well, I think of Picard as being a great character mostly from like season 3 onward.
Yeah, to be fair. Yeah. Sure. Oh man. Someone mentioned T'Pol showing up in Strange New Worlds. That would be interesting.
Well, there was a rumor that she was going to before the first season.
Oh, really?
I heard somewhere that she was going to feature in season 1, but she did not. So maybe she will be in season 2 because she as long as Vulcans live, she could still be an old Vulcan still alive.
Yeah, that would be acceptable. Anyway, all right, so let's go ahead and end this discussion here. I want to thank everyone for joining, everyone who was in the chat, Norman for what you were able to see, Brandon, Maddie, Will Farrell, number 1, and Colonel Harlan, and everyone else watching this and live, and everyone else watching this in the archives. Thanks so much for tuning in to watch this Babylon about how much we love this show, which is so different than our last Star Trek discussion. The polar opposite. But anyway, Alyssa, you want to let people know what you're up to and where people can find you?
All right, you can find me on Alyssa Jean's reviews. I will obviously just finished my weekly coverage of Strange New Worlds. I also just recently covered Obi-Wan Kenobi weekly. I'm not doing any more weekly coverage right now, not until whenever the hell Lower Decks is coming out. But I have all kinds of great content. I just reviewed Love and Thunder. And I will be reviewing Miss Marvel as soon as that's done. So I've got MCU stuff. So yes, please head over to my channel and subscribe and check it all out.
Alex. So thanks for joining, Alex409. Thanks for joining in the chat. Says that the actor for T'Pol left acting to raise children. Yeah, but a little bit of money. We always bring him back.
Yeah, didn't I hear the actress who played what the hell is her name? The chick who spilled coffee on Picard. That she also
Oh yes, she left acting too.
she left acting and came back into that voice. So you never know. You never know.
I think there's a lot of instances too of people who left acting but they're brought back for legacy roles. So it could happen. It could happen.
Her children have got to be raised by now. Like they've got to.
True. Very true. All right. So if you're finding me for the first time, my name is Mark. My channel is Enchantment of Eternity. At the moment, I am covering Westworld Season 4 weekly. As of tonight, as soon as we get off this chat, I'm going to go watch Better Call Saul. The newest episode came out tonight, and I'm going to review that. And then reviewing Better Call Saul, and then doing lots of other Star Trek stuff. I'm going to be covering shows coming out in the future, like the new Lord of the Rings shows, the new Game of Thrones show, the new fucking what else am I doing? Maybe She-Hulk as well. So yeah, I'll be covering a lot of weekly stuff on my channel, as well as the occasional retro Star Trek view. And I will mention that I had put up these 2 videos for my Patreon supporters, and it will go live on my channel for the entire public at in a couple of weeks. 20 best episodes of Modern Trek, where I rank all 4 seasons of Discovery, Strange New Worlds, Prodigy, Lower Decks, Picard, and rank my 20 favorite episodes from all of that. So, and I do a 10 worst as well, which is it was hard not to just put Picard season 2 as the entire list, but it does dominate that list. But yes, so that will be going live on my channel later this month. So be sure to check out my channel for that. And oh yeah, go ahead.
Before we go, I have one more thing to add that I'm doing that I forgot to mention.
Sure.
So actually 2 more things. I'm going to do, I'm not covering Westworld weekly as Mark is, but I'm going to do a halfway season review after episode 4 next week. It's not on my calendar, so I haven't announced it yet, but I'm going to do that. And starting next month, I'm going to do something to replace my monthly Star Trek film reviews, which I'm no longer doing. So I'm going to start doing top 10 worst and best of a different category every month. So I think the first category that I will probably do next month is going to be the top 10 and worst, and then top 10 best relationship and romance episodes. And then I think I will probably after that get into like top 10 best and worst time travel, and then I'll do like parallel universe / alternate timeline. So I'll do those every month. So I'm looking forward to doing that. So you should go and check that out once I get those up next month.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks everyone for joining, and we shall see you next time. Live long and prosper and all that sort of jazz.